Hello friends, welcome to jwreasoning.com. I'm recording this video for Sunday, February 2nd, 2025. My wife and I are on vacation. We're actually on a cruise when I'm recording this, and I couldn't find a real quiet place. She's in our room attending one of her Zoom meetings, and so I decided I would try to find a quiet spot on this cruise ship to be able to do this video. And the only quiet spot that I could find appropriately is a chapel. There's a video being done on a Watchtower study in a chapel. Imagine that. So let's take a look at this article. This article is entitled, "Brothers, Are You Reaching Out to Serve as an Elder?" The focus is some of the scriptural requirements that a brother must meet in order to serve as an elder. My question is, why not look at all of them? Why not examine every one of them? I don't know. Maybe it's because they're lowering their standards once again. They keep lowering the bar, making the age younger and younger and younger. So maybe they're going to start leaving out some of the qualifications that you find. Or maybe they just feel that some of them just aren't important enough to even mention in this article, because it does say some of the scriptural qualifications. But let's move along. At the bottom of paragraph 2, it uses this phrase again that I touched on several weeks ago, gifts in men. Now, since then, I've looked at over 30 different Bible translations, and I cannot find one translation that uses this phrase, gifts in men. Only the New World Translation uses that phrase. Of the ones that I've examined, they all say gifts to men. Paragraph 3 begins, "How can you qualify to serve as an elder? Qualifying as an elder is not the same as qualifying for a secular job. Often in the secular world, if you have the basic work skills that an employer is looking for, you can get the job. By contrast," it says, "if you wish to be appointed as an elder, you need more than preaching and teaching skills. You need to meet the scriptural qualifications for elders listed at, of course, 1 Timothy and Titus." Now, I know brothers that have been appointed that did not meet these qualifications because bodies were hurting for elders, and if they come close, they'll put them in there. This has just been an experience that I've had. I've seen that a couple of times. I'm sure that many of you have too. The other thing is, if the elder body doesn't like you, no matter how good the qualifications are, chances are that brother's going to get overlooked because maybe one or two brothers on that body don't like him. Sometimes you'll have a persuasive brother that'll try to persuade the elders not to appoint someone because they have a personal grudge against someone. And they'll dig up little things or try to find little things, little bitty things, to keep that person from serving as an elder. And I'm not talking about scriptural things. I'm talking about things that are personal, things that are between that elder and that brother they're looking at for appointment. At the bottom of that paragraph, it mentions being willing to serve the congregation. Now, this is really important, serving the congregation. Years ago, when I was serving as an elder, I was giving a local needs talk. Now, that was one of the talks that I always enjoyed doing because they never gave you an outline, and typically within the body, our body was trusting enough that if you had something that you felt was a need, you could mention it to the PO, or because I was part of the service committee, I just mentioned it to a couple of brothers, and I would be able to give a talk on a specific need in the congregation. Well, I was giving this talk, and I made the comment that elders are servants of the congregation. And I even made this statement, when a brother stops serving as an elder, oftentimes in the congregation, we call that stepping down. And this is what I said. I said, we call that stepping down. But really, it's stepping up. And why do I say that? Because when you become an elder, you become a servant for the congregation. You are actually stepping down and lowering yourself to help that person, to get in the trenches, to help lift them up. So you are actually getting down so that you can lift people up. But no, the elder body didn't look at it that way. I got a reprimand for that. The brothers pulled me aside and said, "What do you mean stepping up? It's stepping up. They're stepping down." And I said, well, in this organization, I didn't think we had ranks. But obviously they do. You have the publisher, you have the pioneer, you have the ministerial servant, you have the elder. I think the pioneer is probably above the ministerial servant. It's kind of hard to say, depending on if it's a man or a woman. And then, of course, you have the elders. And so really the elders should be the ones that are serving the most. So when it says here that they should be willing to serve the congregation, it doesn't mean to the neglect of your family, but there might be some things that an elder has planned, maybe a trip or a vacation, and because the congregation is in need, that brother should be willing to forfeit that to serve the brothers and sisters in the congregation. This doesn't happen very often, but this is what a good elder will do. He will forfeit not his family, he won't put his family off, he's going to take care of his family duties. But if it's a vacation or recreation time or something that he personally likes to do, he will put that on the side to serve the congregation. Friends, this is truly what a Christian man, a Christian elder, should always be willing to do. Next, in paragraph 6, you demonstrate that you are hospitable when you do good things for others, including those outside your circle of close friends. Well, my question is, what about those outside of the organization? Shouldn't we do that there? If we're to have a good reputation on the outside, shouldn't we be doing things and being hospitable to those that are outside of the organization? Those who are outside of the congregation? Isn't that all part of it? Next, at the bottom part of that paragraph, a hospitable man shares what he can with visitors, including lowly ones of little means and hard-working servants, such as circuit overseers and visiting speakers. Well, let me ask you something. Because someone doesn't have much money or has little means, does that make them lowly? That concerned me that they said that. Look at that again. It says, a hospitable man shares what he can with visitors, including lowly ones of little means and hard-working servants, such as circuit overseers. Lowly ones of little means. Why can't we say people who just don't have much? Why are they lowly? Does that mean that people of much means are lofty? If I were to take this the way it reads, that's how I would have to accept it. Next, in that same paragraph, it talks about these hard-working servants, such as circuit overseers and visiting speakers. Well, naturally, when a brother comes to the congregation, it used to be the thing that you would always take them out to eat after their talk. But who do you know that is not going to be hospitable to a circuit overseer? Everybody, every elder, every servant, they can't wait to kiss up to the circuit overseer, these lowly ones of little means, these hard-working servants. Let me say this. The circuit overseers that served the area that I am in, they did very well. Have you ever heard of the green handshake? The tax-free money, where the brothers shake their hand and they have maybe a $100 bill in their hand when they shake it, or maybe several $100 bills. That's called the green handshake. Some of you, I'm sure most of you have heard of that, but some of you have not. And that money goes unreported, and it's cash. And I know for a fact that the circuit overseers that came to our circuit, when they came to our Kingdom Hall, they left with thousands, not hundreds, but thousands of dollars of cash before he left just our congregation. I can tell you that for a fact. And that's every circuit overseer. That's just 1 week. Now, that's not going to happen at every congregation, I realize, but I guarantee you these men today, if they're going around to these congregations, they're coming close to a 6-figure tax-free income is my guess. So they're not lowly by any means. They're not making a little money. We're using lowly in the context of the organization, because the organization here is using lowly as poor. And poor people are not lowly. They might be low-income people, but they're not lowly ones. And so this particular paragraph, I don't know if you find it offensive or not, but I thought it was in bad taste. I thought they could have chosen their words better here. Paragraph 8. If you are moderate in habits and self-controlled, you are balanced in all areas of your life. This includes avoiding extremes in eating, drinking, dress and grooming, and recreation. You are not a slave to the trends of the world. Now, I want to say this. I have struggled with weight for much of my life. When I was an elder, I was overweight. That was a problem that I had. And I think that really this is something that should be looked into. I'm not saying that you can't be heavy, but this, according to this, we should not be morbidly obese and serving as an elder. The other thing is, it mentions here extremes in drinking. I know in the congregation that I was in, most of the elders drank way too much. They were mostly all over drinkers, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 elders at one point. Actually, it was 12 at one point. But I know that they are mostly over drinkers. Many of Jehovah's Witnesses are over drinkers. There are many alcoholics in the organization. Many Jehovah's Witnesses take antidepressants. I know this for a fact. If you have served as an elder, if you know anything about your congregation, whether serving as an elder or not, you will find that this is a fact. It's not something that I'm just saying. It's not something I'm making up. And I know for a fact that it's worse today than it was nearly 20 years ago when I was serving as an elder. When they say here in this paragraph, not a drunkard, and a lot of times they look at that as well, somebody who gets drunk regularly. But no, if you get drunk, if you're getting drunk and drinking too much, you should not be an elder. In fact, if you look at the way it reads in the King James, it says that deacons, or ministerial servants as the organization calls it, should not be given to much wine, but it says that a bishop or an elder should not be given to wine. This is saying that elders should not drink. That's really what it's saying. Not that there's anything wrong if somebody drinks in moderation, if they're not serving as an elder. I know this is a touchy subject. I'm probably going to get some hate mail over this, but the Bible teaches that elders should not be given to wine. That's what it teaches. Ministerial servants should not be given to much wine. So neither one should be drunk or get drunk at any time. And that's just a fact. Paragraph 9 speaks about being sound in mind and carefully evaluating matters based on Bible principles. It says you do not jump to conclusions. Instead, you make sure that you have all the necessary facts. This is great advice for those who go into a committee meeting with their minds already made up about this person is guilty. No, you collect the data. If you're going to do it the way the witnesses do it, you should, if you're doing it that way, collect the data and then hear that person's viewpoint. And if there is an absolute proof, mercy should be shown. Now, I believe that the closed judicial meetings are wrong. They are not biblical. These things should be done out in the open so long as the person agrees to it. And it's a congregation matter, not a behind closed doors matter. Next, it says you are organized and punctual. You are known for being reliable and for following direction. In other words, following the direction of the organization. You follow whatever they say. You follow that guidebook, that KS textbook is what they used to call it, the Elder's Handbook. I don't know what they call it now. But you follow that, and you follow that direction to a T. And if there's nothing there, then you consort with either the circuit overseer or the service desk. That's how it used to be. I don't know if they still have those direct connections or not. I'm kind of slipping with my communication with some elders, but I will get on the stick as far as that's concerned. Paragraph 11. You must do your best to help your children develop a good relationship with Jehovah, to live by Bible principles, and to progress to baptism. In other words, do your best to indoctrinate your children as young as possible, and you make sure they get baptized, like I said in the last video, so that they are stuck, so that they too will become eventually servants and elders. And if you baptize them young enough and they're stuck in there, then their whole network of friends will be lost should they choose to leave the organization. And this is what they're saying. You need to make sure they develop a good relationship with the organization, because Jehovah is the organization, of course, when they say this. It says nothing about having a relationship with Jesus Christ. One of the things I wanted to mention here was this picture that they have. And look at these children. You see these children here on the left. Of course, they're teaching them. It's good that they're teaching them Bible things. But are they teaching them Bible things? Or are they teaching them, indoctrinating them with the cartoons and the doctrines of the Watchtower? Well, you can see what the priority is there. It's watching a cartoon to indoctrinate them. Also, you notice there on the other side, you have these children running a vacuum cleaner and dusting the lectern. And I think it's good to train children to do these things, especially at home. And if we're cleaning the house of God, I think that's okay. But to me, this is almost like a sweatshop type of thing, because this is what they want. They want indentured servants. and they want to start them at a young age, that they will give their lives and their time and all of their resources to the organization. I know that sounds harsh, but that is the way it is. That is absolute truth. This is what the organization is after. They want people serving them. Somebody's doing karaoke and they love rock and roll, obviously. I don't know if you can hear that in the background. I did not close the door when I came into this chapel, but they're downstairs doing karaoke. So back to this paragraph. Notice this heading, not self-willed, means that you do not insist on doing things your way. Now, the very ones that write this article are the ones that insist on doing things their way. Are they self-willed? Is the governing body self-willed? Do they do things their own way? Do they care if you think something different or if you have a complaint about something? So, not self-willed. Wouldn't that apply to the governing body especially? Shouldn't that apply to them? I would think so. Paragraph 14, not a newly converted man. So you can appoint a person an elder at a very young age in their early 20s, as long as they're indoctrinated from the time of childhood. Wait on Jehovah for any assignment. In other words, you might be drug out for years and years. You might have met the qualifications many times, but you have to wait on Jehovah. In other words, you wait on those men to like you enough or to say, okay, well, enough is enough. We're going to go ahead and appoint you. I know brothers that will never be elders because they simply don't have the qualifications that elders should have. Doesn't mean they're a less spiritual person. It's just like a job. Some people are qualified for a specific job because they can do things much more efficiently or better than another. It doesn't make them any less a person or any less valuable on the job. So elders sometimes have gifts that God has given them. God gives gifts to men, and it qualifies them better to do the job. So there are some, if we have better qualified brothers, they're the ones who should serve. We shouldn't lower the standard just to appoint brothers, but this is what the organization is doing. They're lowering the age, they're lowering the standard. This is my understanding for why they're saying we're covering some of the qualifications as the focus. Then it states, you can prove that you are loyal by sticking to Jehovah and his righteous standards and by following the direction given where? Through his organization. You gotta love it, don't you? They just can't help themselves. It's not the direction that you find in the Bible. It's the direction that they receive through the organization. Paragraph 15 stood out to me. It says, the scriptures clearly state that overseers must be qualified to teach. Does this mean that you must be an excellent public speaker? No. Well, this is obvious because the governing body are probably some of the worst speakers I've ever heard. I have heard teenage boys give better talks than any of the governing body members that are serving right now. And this is certainly not a qualification. If they said yes, then they would have to be removed, every one of them. They wouldn't be able to do anything on JW Broadcasting. The governing body, you would think that if you're going to have that position and you're going to speak publicly, at least use the ones that are really polished. The problem is with the governing body, none of them are polished. None of them can speak from the heart. None of them truly know what they believe, and almost every one of the talks that you see that they give are scripted. They stick to their notes like glue. They can't just go by an outline or get a thought in their mind and speak. Paragraph 16, notice what it says. Be a good student of the Bible and of our publications. So you have to be a student of the publications. It's so important. This is the only way that one can become a Jehovah's Witness. You can't just study the Bible and become a Jehovah's Witness. You can't come away with many of the doctrines, I'm not saying all of them, but with many of the doctrines that they teach. You cannot read the Bible and come away with their doctrines. And this is why you must be a student of the publications. Next it says, as you study, take careful note of the proper application of the scriptures. Well, the brothers running this organization need to take this advice because they take the application of scriptures and completely distort them. And this is why you have to be a student of the publications, because you can't draw the conclusions that they draw without the publications. So when it says proper application, you can't go with just the Bible and come up with the application that the organization gives it. That's the point I'm making. Paragraph 17. After reviewing the qualifications to serve as elders, some ministerial servants might feel that they could never qualify. But remember that neither Jehovah nor his organization expects you to display these qualities perfectly. Neither Jehovah nor his organization expect you to do this. Is the organization a being? They speak about the organization as though it has consciousness, as though it has awareness. The fact is, the organization, as far as they are concerned, is the governing body in this case. But the Friends like to think that all of the millions of Jehovah's Witnesses are part of the organization. Well, they're partakers of what the governing body dishes out, but they're truly not part of the organization. Even in fact, the ones that they call the anointed are no longer part of the organization. The organization are only those ones that they like to call the governing body, which they consider to be the faithful slave. Friends, there's a lot of information here, but I just wanted to touch on this particular Watchtower a little bit for you, and I'm sorry for the background noise, and I just hope that you will continue to study your Bible. Remember, friends, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through him. And keep in mind that there's no other name under heaven given among men by which we must be saved. And that's the name, Jesus Christ. So keep studying, keep reading your Bible, and my prayer for you is that Jehovah will continue to bless you until we meet again.